Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. There we go. Hi there. Hi, Catherine and Sue. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Shalom. Is everyone hearing me? Okay. How, Robert? Hey, buddy. Just do a quick check that I am actually connected. As you know, I haven't tried a YouTube for a little while. Hey, Martina. Yes, you hearing me just fine? Signed on a couple of minutes early. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Jay. Good morning. So I've got you propped up on a rock here. It is a perfect morning. So I'm thrilled that we're going to have this up here. Thanks, Nancy. I guess this is my new hat. I don't normally wear this style of hat, but rafting guy down in Jackson gave it to me because I bring a lot of groups there, and he's a nice fella. And it actually kind of goes well. It was hi, Jeff. Hey, good to see you, buddy. Hi, Sandra. Nice to see you. It was about 3 degrees in the backyard this morning, but now that I'm out here in the sun, it's probably like a cooking 8 degrees Celsius. Is that Sarah? Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah Goss is here, and it just happens to be Sarah Goss's birthday. So I know Sarah both. Hi, Pam. I know Sarah both virtually and in real person. I think Sarah's been to probably about 7 or 9 different countries with me. So, Sarah Goss, happy birthday to you. Jean de pays, c'est à ton tour de te laisser parler d'amour. So, Sarah, I don't know what number it is, but happy birthday to you and happy birthday from everyone. I see Danny was here. Danny and Sarah have been on a trip together. Hi, Anne-Marie. Nice. So lovely. I'm glad you could join in, Sarah. I suddenly worried because I'm here in the UK. I thought you might still be at work, but I'm glad you were able to join in. So you're very welcome. The other thing I want to show everyone. So I pulled up here to park. This is Banff is going to be magnificent this morning. As always, I feel like I have to say if it cuts out, I'll go over to Facebook Live, but it's always worked here. So I just met a group of motorcyclists who started in Mexico City, and they're going all the way up to Alaska there. Hi, Adrian. And so as soon as I saw their license plates, of course, as you know, I speak Spanish, so I went over and chatted with them. Lovely, friendly people. And I gave them like a mini history of Banff and why this is interesting. So once a guide, always a guide, eh? So it's nice to have, yeah, you know what? Actually, why don't I try and show you for a second? So let me just start out with a morning beautiful view, okay? And also let me very first, now we are gonna do the art walk today, and there's a lot of Indigenous artists, but let me, as always, acknowledge that I'm on Treaty 7 territory. Our friend Robert already said "okay," or it's almost "okay" how they pronounce it. I didn't have my button on today, but I have one now. That was given to me at Head Smashed in Buffalo Jump. Hi, Mary Beth. Ready for this, everyone? Look at that for a morning view. This is what our morning Banff looks like. Hi, Marlene. We had a really good rainstorm yesterday, which caused me to almost wipe out on my bike. I was down the back of Sleeping Buffalo Mountain, but this is our morning view out here. Um, and then there is Sacred Buffalo Guardian Mountain reflected almost perfectly in the water this morning. This is just the essence of what summer is like here. And because we've been getting cool at night, hey Susie, nice to see you there. Solange, hola, bienvenidos. Because we have had these cool mornings. We really don't have a lot of bugs either. So you can see the sleeping buffalo or tunnel mountain. But let me just come over here to the parking lot for 1 second because it's just such a cool thing. Of course, as everyone knows, I have lots of goals of driving the entire Pan American in one go. But there's the Buffalo Luxton Museum. And then I might be a little too far away. But I'll just come around the corner quickly. There's magnificent Mount Rundle up in the distance. So nice to see. But I don't think maybe. Oh yeah, just in the distance out there, just past the little white bus. There's about 25 motorcycles there, and they're all from la Ciudad de México. Y llegaron aquí. Los tomaron 2 semanas para venir acá por moto. So hi Marilyn. So how cool is that, eh? So yeah, great big crowd, and they're heading all the way up to Alaska. And they were thrilled that I spoke Spanish. And I said, you'll actually meet quite a few people. And I'll also point out right there is the Treaty 7 flag, right up there, and it's blowing nicely. So the Buffalo Luxton Museum is, of course, run by Indigenous people. This is the land of the Stony Nakoda. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Satyam. So let's go off and have a little bit of an art walk, everyone. Because it seems to always be holding very well. Oscar, hola, oh, hey, Oscar. Sorry, everyone. This is my friend Oscar from Oaxaca. Estoy mostrando, Oscar. Es un grupito de unos 25 o 30 motocicletas de Ciudad de México que llegaron hasta acá. Entonces, tú también puedes venir hasta aquí. So Oscar has been on live virtual tours with me down in Oaxaca. He has Casa Crespo, which is a cooking school, and he's a personal friend. So here we go. So have a look. These little trees are protected because of beavers. They don't want the beavers to come and chop them down. What a day out here. There's Mount Bourgeot way in the distance. He was originally from France, and he was the naturalist on the original Palliser expedition that came through. But of course, this has been the home of people we know for 11,000 years, archaeological evidence. But we've got our summer art in nature trail, which they do different versions of each year. So I thought I would come over to this side. There's the sign. Hi, Adrian. There is the art in nature. As many of you know, I have been extremely busy, so I haven't been doing as many virtual tours. But here on YouTube, I did do one yesterday because I'm meeting a group again tomorrow. That's how busy I am. But I am. Sorry, I felt like I was on full Zoom still. But I did go out to Mount Yamnuska yesterday in the morning to look for the wildflowers because it's a short period. So if you haven't seen that, please do. And please, everyone, do your best to share some of these YouTube videos, those ones, because it's good for subscriptions. I really appreciate that. There is Mount Rundle. Morning light. Of course, I'm looking down to the east. Nancy, I'm glad you saw it. Wasn't it gorgeous? I mean, and still a lot of them. The flowers were coming out when I was down in Wyoming as well. So it's it's the evening for you, Sandra. But yeah, it was just so beautiful up there yesterday. And then we're looking down towards the Canoe Club. There's, of course, Mighty Cascade and Stony Lookout Mountain. There's the Canoe Club. Thanks, Martine. Interestingly, down there's a group of people I know in town who every day at 8:30 now go in to the river down there for 3 minutes. So this is my newest fun thing I'm doing. I'm now doing when I have my morning shower, I'm now turning the temperature down for the last minute to freezing because there seems to be a lot of science around that. And there's Mount Norquay. You suddenly see no snow up there all of a sudden, but we're just such great weather up here. And Mount Brewster. So, you know what? I could sit and just do a tour here, but we're going to head out. By the way, there is our Wednesday market out there in the distance that they're just setting up in the morning. I hadn't quite taken in it was Wednesday. I don't really think in days of the week. I just kind of think in dates. But I can tell you that tomorrow, as a member of Throwing Snowballs, absolutely. Tomorrow I will be in Calgary meeting a group, and on that particular tour, the first day I meant to do a city tour of Calgary, but the Calgary Stampede is on, so I'm just going to give them kind of a free morning to just get a sense of it, to have some time. But here is our both artisan market, and actually it's going to time out quite well at the end of our walk because then I can go over and have some pierogies for breakfast. It's the only place I ever buy them anymore. We just had Canada Day. Of course, I missed that. I was down in the States for Canada Day, and then yesterday I did a private tour, actually a private virtual tour. In the morning, I did that one on my bike, but it was quite hazy yesterday, and then all the rain was a good old thunder shower that came out. It was just gorgeous. But here we go. Here is our bison looking up at Sleeping Buffalo Mountain. Always have to clarify the term buffalo. Just came, hey Rosie, came from the fact that when the French came over, they called them buffalo after the water buffalo in Africa, and of course, the North American bison is a different animal. And there were once upon a time 50 million of them out in the plains, and now there's very few. But gradually, their populations are coming back. I think just to briefly touch on some less positive news. Obviously, the east of this continent right now is just cooking and burning up. I mean, there's a lot of air quality issues from the fires in the north of Quebec. We're certainly not that far north. But also, they said that they've declared an official El Nino. Now, that's going to really be unpleasant for a lot of parts of Turtle Island of North America. With one exception here, it might mean we get more snow, and I haven't actually bought my ski pass yet. Um, so I so now I think I need to. Marilyn, great question. Marilyn just asked if I see many bears. So last trip when I went up to the ice field, there were flowers everywhere. There was cool, perfect conditions. I didn't see a single bear. I saw my first trip to Yellowstone. I saw four in one day. Last trip I didn't see one. So I'm probably about average, to be honest. I didn't see one yesterday at Mount Yamnuska, even though there were berries out. I did have my bear spray. Look at these bison here. So this is called Crusader of the Land. So this is Jason Carter, who some of you are familiar with. Now, Jason Carter is a Dene First Nations artist. Not that, well, I think it is important because, of course, it is part of his identity. And I think I love that. He's got well, I know I love it. He has a studio here in Banff and one in Canmore, but also he's in the airport. Here's the land acknowledgement right there. In the spirit of respect, reciprocity, and truth, we honor and acknowledge that the town site of Banff is in Traditional Treaty 7, and the Art and the Nature Trail of Banff National Park is within the present day territories of Treaty 6, 7, and 8 First Nations, as well as Métis homeland. So that's pretty important. Hi, Michelle. Nice to see you here. So there's a good start to our art walk. We might have to ask Pam on one of her days off to do a secondary one because we're not going to cover everything, but a lot of the neat art was a tree that was felled, I guess, or had come down quite a number of years ago, and they cut it into all these sections, and so different artists express themselves in every way. You can go onto the website for the art walk and read about all the different artists. So that is really really wonderful to see. And it was interesting when I was doing this. I was showing some of this on my virtual tour yesterday, my private one, and immediately people say, "Oh, is it a competition?" No, it's not a competition. And when you live in a national park, by the way, art is both ways. If you hear some squawking, hi Alicia, if you hear some squawking in the back, those are the magpie. Oh, no, that's a crow on the top of the museum. I did yesterday. I was lucky enough to see a flycatcher. You are noisy this morning. So there, the water's nice and low. So we're going down under the bridge here. But no, it's just like when we have the snow carvings or the snow sculptures in the winter. They're not competitions. It's just artists expressing themselves, and so that's nice to take away that kind of competition element to it, in my opinion, anyway. Um, and so this is John Burrow. He says, "I go to nature to be soothed and healed, and to have my senses put in order." Seems pretty appropriate, doesn't it, everyone? So it is sure nice being home. And I am indeed doing the same trip down to Yellowstone again. I planned 3 in a row, and then I'm going to do it 2 more times, August, September. But I do that in the summer because I get 3 nights here, and then I also, of course, stay in the same time zone and the same ecosystem. So it's kind of a nice balance. There is gorgeous Mount Rundle. I am, however, at the end of the month, flying over to the UK for a couple of days. These are just lovely, aren't they, Ruth? Nice tall grass, but also just not a mosquito year, which is lovely. That's been one of the benefits. Here's the flowers. Now this one is, oh, very interesting. So the name of this is There's a Crack in Everything. That's how the light gets in. You might know that's a quote from Leonard Cohen. But Don Anashanisi McIntyre, I can almost guess that that person is going to be Métis because, of course, the mix of Scottish and Indigenous is one of the natural mixes that one has of the Métis Nation that was born out here on the plains. This one I've seen before on previous years. So it was very, very busy on the weekend. Hi, Anne. Nice to see you there. And this one is entitled Embraced by Nature from Lucy Bose. So there you are. Isn't that lovely? And they are embraced. Obviously, none of this art does any damage. Right? It's very important. But there's lots of land. Really is the best art, said Andy Warhol. I never really known enough about Warhol to have opinions on him. But here's a painting. This one's been here before. A place to heal and a place to grow. Now, our wildflower season is short, but I'm sort of feeling pretty excited for getting back down to Yellowstone because at the higher reaches, they had a lot of snow, so not all the flowers are out yet. So I'm still hoping to have a day of them just erupting around us. Um, the front ranges, of course, get theirs at different times, and then amongst deciduous trees based on the settlement of water and light and so forth all plays in. But the berries are all out, which means the bears are going to be out playing and having as good a time as they always do. And that one is called the bears. And then this is time for reflection right there. Your granddaughter's still drawing. That's lovely, Marilyn. So it's I have to say the last two tours I've done, I've just enjoyed the people on the trips immensely. And so I'm looking forward to this next one as well, although I have to admit I wouldn't have minded a couple of more days at home. There. Katrina Mayer tells us that time spent among the trees is never wasted time. Look up, and up in the tree there's some glass sculptures hanging there. By the way, if they're going to be hanging, that one's called bats, by the way. If they're going to be hanging anything in the trees, you have to get above the height of the antlers of elk, right? Um, and this is the resilient forest. This one is really meaningful because that's giving you a sense of the forest after a forest fire and the regeneration that happens along the way. And you can hear the sounds of the birds, hopefully. Almost tempted not to put in my headphones, but I just felt, a bit of traffic around. This one's lovely. This is called The Path We Walk. Obviously, that interesting. So the racket coming out, some of these birdies here. Now we're very much in magpie country around here. So I'm going to head up to our other pedestrian bridge. Oh, this one I've seen before. Oh, this has got to be Jason Carter. Yeah, this one. This is actually a version of a big one he has, and I think that one is one of the big pieces in the airport in Calgary. Hi, Fi. Hey, Lucy. It's nice to see everybody coming back. It's this is nice and clear. As I say, when I'm at home, this YouTube works just wonderfully. Just seems to fail on me everywhere else. But the chat, I only see about 2 boxes as they go by and then they fade away. Now here we have, of course, our beautiful Rainbow Bridge. I mean, how gorgeous is that? And we have to go over for our art and nature walk. And actually, I will say something about this lovely rainbow flag. Of course, we couldn't have Pride Festival during the pandemic. In one of our provinces in Canada, New Brunswick, a province I feel close to all of them, but they've got this kind of weird activist premier who hopefully is going to be pushed out even by his own party because he started to make some very anti-inclusive things. Fortunately, the press around him is so negative, and some of the ministers in his government are leaving. But oh my God, I think if there's a time that we have to unite around and embrace people, part of the broader LGBTQ community, and particularly trans people, the time is now, because the nut jobs are doing everything in their power to try and make that the focus, and not, of course, this terrible changing climate we have at the moment. So have a look at that gorgeous mountain in the distance. So there, that's Martin Street. I love that view. As I say, when I got up this morning, I have to say I lazed in longer than I normally do. Stayed up with Finn and his girlfriend watching a Netflix series yesterday, and I had weird dreams, and so then I just laid in bed and I had tea, and it said 2 degrees, and I knew when I got down here and the sun would hit me, would be just fine. Now this is the route down into the river. Yeah, I feel as though I honestly feel like I have probably a TikTok rant coming on. I haven't done one for a while. But you see this? All of these different artists represented here, lots are Indigenous, other people will identify as part of broader inclusive communities. And it's amazing how it just makes for a really pretty, loving society. Now there is Sulphur Mountain up back there. And that is, of course, the top is, you can take the gondola up there. I don't tend to hike up there in the summer. You hear the birds. I'm glad you're hearing the birds. Yeah, the art walk. I think someone asked if it's the same time every year. I'm not even sure. I always just sort of suddenly see it all of a sudden. And a couple of years ago, it was less fun to show it virtually just because there's so many mosquitoes. This year, lovely as can be. Um, Now the snow moved away fairly early. Of course, we did have a couple of days of snow, but as it moved away fairly early, the animals have moved up into the hills. So that's part of the reason we see fewer of them at the moment. But that said, Finn took a picture of an elk sleeping outside his window the other day when it was warm, because we have a shadow under the deck, so they just hang out there. This is gorgeous, and there's a deer in this one is simply called a path. So I'll try and frame that a little bit better. And then how's this? A new beginning. Now that one's got a feather, and that Gordon Wesley. So I don't know about Gordon Wesley, but very Indigenous feel, and that really is long um, Highway 22, which is what we call the Cowboy Trail, the Great Views. I want to just show you. This name is going to be Stony Nakota. Oh yeah, it's Cheyenne Bearspaw. Yeah, she's a well-known artist from the Nakota Nation, just up the road. Interestingly, our local paper, some of you sometimes look at it online, the Outlook, and that's what I read when I'm away more than I'm home. Um, but one of the interesting things is now that they've gone back to actually have local reporting, we have way more information coming in from Stony Nakota, and just tying together the communities of our valley. Here's the famous one that Jason Carter has every year. So that's the bear tag or tage, and that's of course portages. So as we'll go up just as far as the permanent sculpture, and then we'll curve back and look at the other ones on our way back around to the bridge where we started. So look at these lovely deer right here. Those are muleys, as you can always tell. Forest nymph and spirit. That's and then behind us, of course, look at the shadows. Isn't that gorgeous, everyone? Look at the shadows behind us. So that is Takara, which is, of course, the Iroquois word for light glistening on water. Um, just, it is as perfect a morning as you get, and it's always so much fun to see people out taking pictures as they come through here. So this is a permanent sculpture here, showing the rapids, the movement of the river, which is lovely to see. Needless to say, good morning. And there's a belted kingfisher on that one. Just someone sitting, so I don't want to. And then raven time. This is Lynn Hurris. That's maybe I'll apply next year to put something up. Mine will be called um, indecipherable. Like there's a magpie there. Yeah, they're lovely, very very intelligent birds. I think yeah. Um, I could call mine random paint. Um, that's I got lots of options of contributing. So here is a cool little one here. This is called a room with a view. Hello, you lovely little. I don't know what you are, but oh, that's Peg Abbott. Um, I do know Peg. I actually know a lady who was her partner for a number of years. So Peg has been an artist in the valley for a long time, and so it's lovely that they invite so many artists that are actually known around here. This is a cool little one. I don't expect we're allowed to touch, but it sure feels like it. See, I could almost do this one, except I probably wouldn't attach the uh, the links very well. So, but that's called Worlds Within by Dan Hudson. I really like that. It's the kind of one you'd almost want to have like on your bedroom wall or something. Look at it in the morning and decide how your day is going to be. So, John Muir, once again, going to the mountains is like going home. Um, yeah, that's true, Laura. I totally agree. The So John Muir comes from a town, I've just forgotten the name of it. Someone will know it here on the southeast coast of Scotland. And a few years ago, I had finished a tour in Edinburgh, and rather than flying down, I rented a car and drove down, and randomly went in and found the whole kind of house and museum dedicated to him, and so learned a lot about him and his love of nature. So I sort of felt that was a you know a serendipitous moment of connecting with an early conservationist. So I think that's a really nice thing. By the way, here's the whole trail, and there it is. Just look at that; it's going all the way to September 30th. Dunbar. Thank you very much, Helen. Yeah, Dunbar. It was the day I was there. It was clear as a bell and cold, but I love the little port in Dunbar, and it was just so nice going and discovering all of that. And indeed, I'll just go down here for a second. This one from Natalie Lee is called Surprise, and a little face popping out. And then Margot Petrov has got Miso Chu, which I don't know the story of this puppy. Um, is uh, is Jolene here? I just saw the name Jolene. I'd love it if Terry and Jolene were here because this is, of course, they've seen this. Look at these trees, just talking about nature itself. Every year we watch them dip down a little further, both the tenacity of life, but there's something that we could extract about the fact that a river will always find its path. And you see the roots of these trees must have dug in, but one of them's pretty much had it there, and eventually they will come out of the banks and start floating down. That's the long-term process of erosion, and it's a natural thing. Um, John Mears from Wisconsin. Hi there. Well, he started out in Scotland there, and I remember in the museum, it was a very austere family that he had lived in. Apparently, very very strict Presbyterian family, and and yeah, lots of rules. But he just fell so in love with nature, which is a wonderful thing. But another interesting fellow was a gentleman who became known as Kootenai Brown, and he led to the protection of Waterton Lakes National Park, which then became part of the world's first international peace park south of here. This one is called I Witness Many Things. Um, and that's Jennifer D'Entremont. Interesting piece. That's yeah, it's sometimes I love just sitting back and extracting the art, and other times I want to, chat with the artist and say, what are you seeing in this? And then what are we seeing in it? But look at this day out here, ladies and gentlemen. It's just a gorgeous morning. So I have to, my great big bike is in the back of the car because it has to go and fix part of the connection on to the motor. And I have a couple of friends coming out to go biking this afternoon, which means we're going to have to change it up probably. I have to pull out the road bike. But on a day like today, I kind of have to be on my bike. Yeah, the bike hospital, exactly. Yeah, Robert, I've had a few problems. I mean, it's a huge machine, but but there's one of the connections. It's the rotary thing at the front that connects in. Um, but it's kind of road braking. Hello, you lovely little sparrow. Good morning. Or are you a crossbeak? You're either a sparrow or a crossbeak. Oh, it's okay. It'll get fixed in a day or so, Robert. It's just, of course, when I come home, I really only have 2 days off at any given time, and I'm usually doing paperwork anyway. Um, but it means that I want to get out on the bike as much as possible. And look at this view again. But let's head back up around. We'll go under the pedestrian bridge. So now you can imagine how busy town is these days. It is, and it needs to be. All of our national parks are. It's funny when I do these tours. When I get down to Yellowstone on my first day, I tell the whole group, we're leaving at 7 a.m. And everyone's fine with it because they get them. I'm not doing it maliciously. But the next day we don't leave till 8:30, and you can have 100 cars lined up to get into the park. Look at the lovely texture of the water. That's the main channel. If you come here with me in the winter, which many of you have, this channel, you'll have ice right across. But this is the one that flows year round. Of course, if the river froze to the bottom, that would be terrible because it would, freeze out all the life. So that's. And then, are you ready, everyone? Say it with me. Echo, echo. Daylight come, and me want to stay here. So it's always good to have a morning echo. You see, there's still more art hidden along the walkway here. Healing by abstract nature. See, that's what I would try and do, but it wouldn't look as good. And very interesting hook to connect it to there. Ah, what a beautiful day. There is the Banff Trading Post. And this is the road on the left is the one that leads down to the Cave-in Basin, which is the birthplace of the Canadian Rockies, of course. I guess I have to come up here and stand here and make sure it's clear. Look at me, I'm going to be a rebel. I'm going to go right through the stop sign. Oof, at nearly 2 kilometers an hour. So there's still some noisy magpies over there. What I haven't seen here this year is a kingfisher yet. And I always think they're maybe, in my mind, the most beautiful bird I get to see with some frequency. You see, these are all the bikes here. Take you up to see them. No sé si está todavía Oscar, pero aquí son los mexicanos. So here's all these bikes. A nice big group coming up together from Mexico City, heading for Alaska. I didn't ask whether they're going back via the ferry or riding back down. Pretty cool though, eh? And there, one guy's got a cool mask on the back. I feel like that could be a lucha libre thing. But, and then the beautiful Luxton Museum over here. Yeah, super cool. I'm not a motorcyclist, although I am a road cyclist. Just for sheer fun. This one on the left's got Oaxaca on it. This one here, Argentina, Chile, Switzerland as well. But it's some of those stickers, so pretty neat way to travel. And I think in a nice big group, if you're all being safe, probably a safer way of doing it. But I will do it in a big 4-wheel drive van at some point. Now the colors in the water again are just so gorgeous. I think these reflections. Yeah, Marlene, I expect those particular bikes aren't so noisy, but the ones, I guess it's the Harleys or something, the ones that make all the racket, we actively dislike them here because they terrify animals. And I know Vancouver's quite strict about some of the motorbikes because, of course, the whole city is glass and it just reverberates off. So no, I like my system. We don't have snowmobiles in the park except as tools, and we don't have basically it's all self-propelled. Now the geese have been around here because there's so much geese poop that I'm tiptoeing down the trail, which is fun. So let's just head back onto the bridge one more time and make a perfect loop. And then maybe I'll go over and get some pierogies. But there's the Big Dipper, and that's fun because, of course, that's also on the flag of Alaska. So if someone's heading north, you see that. So Big Dipper, Seven Brothers. Again, up in Jasper, which they've created a dark sky preserve up there. If you go to one of their sky interpretations, they tell you about the constellations, but not in terms of the old whatever you call it, Capricorn and Pisces and all of that. They use the Cree interpretation of it, which I think is a lovely thing because, of course, most of our history, most humans have used stars as one of their guidance. And as you move north, of course, for much of the year, the winter months when it's dark, you really depend on the stars. And these folks are all having a conversation with each other by just texting. No, I don't think so. But this gentleman. Hi. So let's make our way back out onto the bridge for a nice final view. Now, did you also hear the other bit of news that I just to mention is that one of the staff accommodations, one of the big ones in Lake Louise, has burned down. No one is injured, which is wonderful. But about 160 people are displaced, but it can actually house up to 350 or 400. And a man has been charged with arson. And so many of the people, generally young people who stay there, are foreign workers. And so what it means is their passports are burned up, and all their belongings. So a real hassle. So yeah, that's certainly made the news here. And one of my neighbors, it's staff for the ski area. One one of my neighbors is quite senior there, so I haven't asked him about it, and I wouldn't share, what he'd tell me, but it's such a shame. When you do come to this peaceful beauty of the national park here, please remember that we really are living the harsh effects now of climate change, of everything that was predicted by scientists a number of years ago. It's all coming to fruition. Um, and so it's time to act, and it's time for us to stand up every single time these kind of politicians try and make it about culture wars. and, and when I'm down in the States, and I'm down in the States a lot these days, uh, I now, my beer of choice all of a sudden is Bud Light, which I never drank ever before. But just because that got roped into culture wars, there's the canoe club down in the distance. But for the most part, of course, when you come to communities like this, which are inclusive, isn't it beautiful? Life is just kind of better. So, there's the big poplars with the trembling aspen right over there. Sulphur Mountain. So, ladies and gentlemen, I really looked forward to doing this. When I was doing this trip yesterday, I thought, gosh, I have to bring you all down here. So I'm off. I might. Um, oh, did they, Jay? Okay, thanks for letting me know. I just do it because I'm in these some of these communities where people actually make a comment when I drink it. So really, that's the reason. Um, but but ladies and gentlemen, it was so nice. I wanted to come and do a quick hello with everyone. You're welcome, Anna Marie. It's a real pleasure to share all of this. I mean, it's just so perfect out here. Happy birthday to you, Sarah. It's so nice to have you here. I expect you're sneaking a little view at work. Um, skip the middle. but uh, but stick to the views for a moment here, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to be in Calgary maybe tonight or tomorrow morning. I don't know if I'll have a chance. I'll maybe try and put up a pre-stampede walk on Friday morning. Let me see. I mean, last year, of course, we tried to do the Stampede Parade, and then the network went down. Um, but I won't be able to do the parade because I'm guiding that day. Like I won't be able to go and get a place. Um, uh, Not, I'm going to be over in the UK. I'm not going to be in the Netherlands in 3 weeks, but I'll be in the UK, and I will be in Ireland again. So I'm looking so forward to that. But I do obviously appreciate those who can support. I see some people have started sending donations preemptively, and if you're able to make, it's my pleasure, Robert. And if you're able to make a donation through here, I think I get 70% of it through here. Through my website, I get almost all of it. But it is kind of interesting through here because I got a pin in the mail from YouTube, I guess, or from Google. So now I'm kind of official. Um, no, I still haven't made through the ads and everything $100. As soon as you make that, then they send you a check apparently. But no, you're welcome, Susan. Listen, big hugs to you. I think you're on holiday with your family or on vacation, so have a wonderful time up there. As you can see, it is now. People are still in shorts, but then we wear shorts at -10, so all seems appropriate. So I'll just leave you with one final view, which is the best. Actually, I think this is the best one over here. Leave you with one final view out here. Out towards Mount Rundle. Um, officially, I'm officially monetized, sort of thing. So when I have some time, which is probably going to be in 12 years, but I'll go in and I'll try and make these videos, tighten them up or put on titles or do all that stuff. But somewhere along, I'll get to work on that when I do have time to kick back. But I'm doing this tour now, and I will try and put up one or two as I go along, different places. Maybe I'll do a fun one in West Yellowstone with all of you, just to see what the town's like. You don't see a lot of the park, but see the town. Um, and then I'm going to come home for 10 full days. And my good friend who you met down in Brighton with me is coming over here for a visit. And then we also have another friend coming. So I have a couple of wonderful people coming to visit. Um, yeah, Martina. Another conversation for another day. Now, as the final hook, it always takes a little while to sign off here when I do, but you always have to leave everyone hanging at the end. I can't remember how to turn this all off, but I do want to tell you about the time that I met a group of people who are all going to climb into the water down at the far end. And I thought, ah, heck, why don't we do it? And we decided to do it au naturel. Well, as soon as we started to take off just about everything, you wouldn't believe